Welcome to Toffee TV. I'm joined by Ped, obviously, and Andy the Piv is here, and we're going to have a chat about Michael Keane, who is in excellent form again. And the question to you, gentlemen, really, is this Michael Keane's best run of form since joining from Burnley? Ped, let's start with you, because he hasn't always been your cup of tea, has he, really, at times? But where do you stand on him now? Because I know in the past you felt as though if he did kick on, he could be like a Dave Watson type player, not exactly, but you know what I mean, that type of English strong centre-back who plays for us for a number of years. So where are you with him at the moment?
I actually think he's probably more like Franz Beckenbauer now as a player. No, I think I think this season, I think he said it himself after the Wolves game. He said, "What's changed in the away wins?" And he said, "Mentality." And I thought that was actually a really good word to use for him. I think I've always thought that one of his big problems was that he looked at times terrified. Like absolutely terrified. And I for a while, I think just the fact that he was an Everton player terrified him. And I mean that in the sense of it was just like, I'm not good enough for this club. I'm not big enough for this club, no matter what anyone else feels about Everton. You know, he's come from Burnley, been at Man United, but I almost feel like we last season he started well, and then he had that England game where he got done in the England game, and you just seen the confidence drain out of him then. And it was that idea of, it was just, it was always about the confidence, and he was, he likes being that quiet person in the background and someone else maybe leading the defense. I think what's happened since Carlo come in is Carlo's probably just gone to him. I've worked with some of the best defenders ever, and you're not out of place in my thoughts of being a good defender. Okay, we all know. Listen, he's not
Jesus.
He's clearly not Jesus, is he? He's not any of those players he had at Milan. But he obviously recognises that there's a good defender in there. And I think he's just told him, he's just said to him, "You're really important. You're mine." I think he said to him, "You're my number one centre-back." And he's riding that now. And hopefully, that now signing a new contract, I'm hoping that it's not just a confidence thing anymore, because this was almost my big thing with him, and we discussed this loads of times. A player cannot get by on confidence. You cannot go from being brilliant to terrible just on what's in between your ears. You can't have a good career doing that. And I think maybe in the last 6 months, we've seen now him step up, and whatever the problem was in the past, hopefully that's behind him, because now what we're seeing is a very good centre-back who can play the ball out from the back, and has got good, strong leadership qualities as well. I mean, really, by now, Michael Keane should be our captain. He should be our absolute standout captain. There shouldn't be any question about it. But he's not, and we have seen him take the armband, so that's good as well. It means he's clearly developing. He looks more comfortable, even doing like things like interviews in front of the TV live, things like that. He looks a lot more comfortable. He looks happy in himself. So I'm delighted that he's now proven to be a really top class centre back.
Yeah, I mean, Andy, it's been important. We bought him he was obviously good at Burnley, and we've discussed many a time, low block defender, and dominates that, and when he likes it, when he knows what he's doing, what his job is. And I think Sean Dyche was very simple in what he wanted them to do. And then he come to Everton, got a big move to Everton, turned down a couple of clubs. We know that at the time Liverpool wanted him, but were interested in him, and so were Man United. And I think maybe he thought he'd play more at Everton, and he came to Everton, and Ronald Koeman brought him in, and obviously Ronald Koeman, it didn't really go the way Koeman wanted, and he was out the door, and then Keane got an injury and played injured, and his career was a bit like that. But he did seem to get back on track with Kurt Zouma, and he had a good end to the season, and like Ped said, started the next season, but then had that England game where he made a mistake and things like that, and then his confidence at the beginning of last season, his confidence just fell away, and he played himself out the Everton side totally. And I remember Carlo did kind of bring him back in, and put him in. But then during lockdown, I've brought this up a few times, he said he had a conversation with his old Man United youth coach, and his Man United youth coach told him to sort his feet out. He said he'd just give me something dead simple when I'm defending and when I'm turning about the way I was moving with my feet. And he really worked on that. And since lockdown, in general, I think he had a little dip for about 3 or 4 games. Around the United game, I think he had a fall for a couple of goals in the cup. But other than that, since lockdown, he's been in excellent form for Everton, hasn't he?
I have to credit Michael Keane because, like Pez, in the past, I've not been his biggest fan. I'm quite critical of him, in fact, because of his shortcomings. And I think the adaptation he's made from someone whose flaws were hid by Sean Dyche's system to someone now who's comfortable with the ball at his feet, playing out from the back. Don't get me wrong, in a higher line, I've still got a couple of questions about him, but he's shown at times this season he's capable of handling that. And yeah, he's been a colossus, really. To be captain forever, I just think he lacks that personality type. I don't think he's aggressive enough. I don't think he's just. I think Dave Watson, was just a leader. He was tough. You can look to him. I don't think Michael Keane's quite that type, but I think he is a good defender. I think gets his head on everything. I think he's good 1v1. Don't like him defending in space, but I think you can limit that when you've got it to players like Holgate and Godfrey out wide covering you. So I think he's been excellent. Yeah, I think he's I'd say in order of improvement, it'd be Dominic Calvert-Lewin, Keane, and then probably Iwobi this season for the 3 players who've gone on a lot since last season. And I think long may it continue. I think the major thing is to maintain this level now and don't have those dips. And he'll be in the England squad for the Euros. Not that that really matters to us, but it'd be good for him to get that nod, because I think Harry Maguire obviously is England's number 1 centre half of that type, but he has his own dips in form. Whether you like him or not, I think he can be quite good at times, but other times he's not. So I think Michael Keane can push himself into that picture.
Ped, is that a key thing? The fact that he was good under Sean Dyche, who basically has a defensive structure, and it's quite simple. Where you are, you mark that area. Do you think the fact that Carlo Ancelotti has come in, and you hear players say this all the time, he just keeps things simple? Do you think that that's benefited Michael Keane, the fact that he has maybe just made it more simplistic, his job in the team?
Yeah, but I don't think it is that simplistic though, is it? Because we've seen the way the systems change when we play, and we know what he requires out of Michael Keane, especially with the ball at his feet as well. So I don't think it is that simple, because we like to play out from the back. We like to we're one of these teams who likes playing these short goal kicks. If I was a player like what Michael Keane is supposed to be, I would never want the goalkeeper to give me the ball. I'd be terrified. And there was a time I think he would have been terrified. I think that's where he's evolved. And I agree absolutely with Andy. When the system absolutely suits him at the moment. But what I would say is that if the system changes and you put pace next to him, I think he's in the right headspace to adapt his own game. And that might be the thing of like, I'll adapt my game. I don't have to worry about the guy next to me or the guy next to him or the guy in front of me. I think that's also a big thing footballers have to do. They have to just take personal responsibility for what they're doing. But I'm sure there are little things that he simplified in terms of like overthinking things. And because Michael Keane we keep on reiterating this, he's actually a good footballer. His passing range is really, really good. He comes out with the ball really confidently. He holds off players because he's big. You don't see him too often. He doesn't, like, he at times, I think when he first come, you looked at him and he looked a little bit, dare I say, dopey. Do you know what I mean? He looked a little bit like you were wondering whether he played off instinct or whether there was anything actually going on there. But the more you watch him as a footballer, you can tell there is more going on. And you can see he creates angles for passes and things like that, and doesn't mind stepping out with the ball. And he's got a football intelligence to him that we didn't always think was there. I just think he's learning on the job as well. Like he's clearly learning from Carlo. One of my big issues with him when he first came in as well, I didn't think he smelled danger enough. I don't think he ever saw stuff coming. And now that comes down to a lot of the time through experience, seeing it every day in training as well. Carlo, the funny thing about Carlo is, by working with great defenders, he will have learned off them as well. It's not always a one-way street. If you're watching great defenders every day in training, it sometimes goes back to the coach. The coach is learning things off them that he can pass on to somebody else. You know, we've seen this with Moyes. You know, obviously Phil Jagielka taught Moyes everything he knew about defending, and he took that to Manchester United and reaffirmed that to Rio Ferdinand.
He did.
Sometimes that happens where, like, you can imagine if you're working with someone like Maldini or Baresi or, you know, any of the great defenders he worked with over the years, even someone like John Terry, you know, you will have seen things that he can pass on to him. If he sees it, because let's be honest, there's only so many things in football. Nothing's really going to take you by surprise. If you see a situation and you've seen that 1,000 times before, you can go in and go, right, this is what we did when we were with this player. And if he said, can you imagine talking to a defender and going, yeah, this is what we used to do with, you know, this amazing centre back. This is what we did. This, you could do that, and you'll get the same benefits out of this. Exactly, you'll get the same benefits that this guy did. You know, and that can only build confidence, I think, as well. And every time Carlo says, yeah, Michael Keane's amazing, blah, blah, blah. If I was playing there, I'd be feeling 10 foot tall, because knowing of Carlo Ancelotti's track record as well. And also, one other thing, it's Carlo Ancelotti, Everton are going places. If they keep going on this trajectory, you want to be part of it. Otherwise, you're going back to Burnley. And nobody wants to go back to Burnley.
I think that's right, isn't it, Andy? It's Carlo Ancelotti. And he's had Maldini, Costa Curta, you know, Baresi, Sergio Ramos, Thiago. You can just keep saying centre-backs that he's had, because he's had some great Koulibaly, he's, you know, even recently. So he's had good centre-backs he's worked with for the majority of his career, hasn't he? And so when he is telling you things, you're going to listen, and that respect is there. And I think Michael Keane, you know, just SofaScore's rating for him this season, 7.13. He's won 70% of his duels, aerial duels, 16 games, 3 goals, 89% passing accuracy across that game. I mean, you'll have more stats there that you'll be able to tell me. So he's doing really well, isn't he?
Yeah, I've got some stats here. Everton, to be honest with you, I think with the midfield being better this season, they're not under pressure as much in terms of facing defensive duels. But in terms of defensive duels, he's won nearly 72%, which puts him in the top 25% in the league. So you've got 2 centre backs. So there's 40 centre backs who play in the league. Michael Keane is in the top 25%, which is good. That's where you want to be. One of the better defenders in the league. Even some of the best defenders are not even that high. So that is good. Aerial duels, like you say, 70%. I think Yerry Mina is the only player at Everton who's just slightly bit ahead in both, but much better on the ball than Mina this season in terms of our passing accuracy, 90%. His long ball accuracy is 56%. This is, by the way, all before the game the other night, because I don't have the up-to-date ones. His progressive passing accuracy is nearly 70%, which means when he's playing through the lines, he's doing it accurately and well. And it's deep completions. So deep completions are passes that go to within 20 yards of the goal, which again, like Ped said, he's been able to switch play so well and drive us forward. And obviously we've seen against West Ham, that lovely ball for Dominic Calvert-Lewin when he scored. And I think that's something he's added to his game, because at Burnley it was really like just hoof it out, you know what I mean? And whereas at Everton, I think that's where Carlo comes in, because he does know how to manage players. I think Marco Silva tried to overcomplicate a lot of things at Everton, which didn't help. And I think playing under Ronald Koeman, if you're a centre back, must be hell on wheels, because you're one of the best ever to play the position. I can imagine he's really quite tough. And for Michael Keane, I think he is a player who needs the right sort of love. I don't think he's someone who enjoys the tougher side of things. So I think Carlo's probably the perfect manager for him in that sense.
Is it of benefit to him, without being too harsh on him, the fact that his best form has come when there's been no supporters in any of the stadium? Am I being a little bit? I like Michael Keane, and people who watch this channel will know that I've championed him most of the time, you know, that he's a good defender. And, you know, I think sometimes there was other factors which took away from his game, but there was also times when his own confidence, like Ped said, let him down, and he looked terrified in some games. But I'm just wondering, is that played any impact, any part in it, or is it really what we're saying is because of Carlo Ancelotti and because of the advice and because of wanting to do well? Because he's a lad who really wants to do well for Everton, isn't he? He's a lad, I think, who looks at Everton and thinks, this is the best I'm going to get, without being disrespectful to him or us. This is the best I'm going to get, and these are going places, and I want to be part of that. We've seen that by him signing the contract in the summer, the extension. So am I being a little bit you know, is that in any way a factor, do you think, the fact that there isn't fans in the stadium?
I think it is. Go on, sorry, Pez.
I was just going to say, Carlos said after the game on Tuesday night, sorry, he was asked about the away record and he said there's no fans. He said it changes the mentality. And I think at the beginning, I think that would have helped them. Hopefully now it's not a case, but I think at the beginning it will have. And the longer it's gone on, it's helped change his all round mental state on everything. And I think if you inserted fans back in now, he'd have to. Hopefully, it would all be fine.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're one of the lucky ones who've actually been to a game. You know, in the last.
Luck played no part in it, Baz.
Well, not if you believe Jeff, no. But you know, in the last 10 months, and he was outstanding that night when we beat Chelsea. He was absolutely brilliant that night. You know, up against the likes of Timo Werner and people like that. You do. But yeah, Andy, I mean, you know, for him to do what he's doing and then to continue that and put himself in a position now where, when you're talking about who should start at centre back, I think most Evertonians would say Michael Keane, and then it may be Ben Godfrey, it may be Yerry Mina, it may be Mason Holgate. But I think Michael Keane, for a lot of Blues at the moment, would be kind of the first name on the sheet if it's a centre back, wouldn't he?
Yeah, I think so. And I think just on the new fans thing, I think this is a conversation I've had with work. I think I've heard other director of footballs and people in recruitment talk about this. It is a worry. The players. I think Michael Keane's at least got previous form where you can go. He has played well at certain points when fans have been there. I think when those players who haven't played as well and then suddenly have turned up in this form, I think strikers have been the main one who's starting to score goals without people there. I think that's a worry for people. But I think as long as they can I've said this about every Everton player, as long as they can maintain or go above the levels that are now, we'll be in a good position. I think Iwobi is the number one centre-back on the list for Carlo anyway. I think some people may quibble that Yerry Mina. Unfortunately for Yerry Mina, there's been one or two high-profile mistakes that Evertonians seem to grip onto and can't let go of because I don't know why. It's one of those things. But I think both of them, as we've discussed before, they're the best centre-back pair we've got in terms of the numbers. We can see the least goals with them as a pair. And I think Godfrey and Mason Holgate have got a job to get in the team, which is good. I think there should be as we talked about, you said it the other day, Baz, there should never be a player who's guaranteed a starting spot in the team. And I think it's good that we've got competition. I think all the best teams have got 4 good centre-backs, and I think we're getting there now as long as the other two behind them develop well.
The funny thing is about that is it just reminds me of when Stubbs and we were in the side and Yobo was trying to break in. And it was like it felt like you wanted Yobo in the team because he was this brilliant international player that other teams have been sniffing around. But Moyes was just like, no, these are our best 2 centre-backs. These do exactly what I want, and this lad will just have to wait his turn. And that was just the way it was. And that's what it feels like at the moment. It feels like there are you've got Mason Holgate and Ben Godfrey doing brilliantly as fullbacks, and they're like, people looking at them going, oh, you've got to find a way to play them in the team. But the manager's like, these are clearly the best 2. This is the best partnership. And it mightn't be it mightn't be that what everyone wants or what from the outside it mightn't seem like it's perfect, but it works. And while it works, you keep going with something. You just keep going. And there will be a time when you have to evolve it, and with age and other factors, where it has to evolve. And hopefully, and that's why both of them, like Ben Godfrey's younger than Mason Holgate, but Mason Holgate's still learning. And it if it's not broke, don't have to fix it.
No, I think that's a really important point, isn't it? That we do as fans, we all have an idea in our head who our best 11 is, don't we, and what we'd like to see, and we're all going with the Keane, someone like Godfrey alongside Keane with the pace, and then you've got Michael Keane. But the manager, they look at everything. They look at the stats. They look at what they're doing in training, who's showing up every day. And if it's Mina and Keane, and they're the lads who are getting us the results. Andy, we've said it before, and I know we're going to do the numbers game for Payton next week, and we'll have a look at it as well. But whether people like it or not, Keane and Mina are our best defender, the best partnership, aren't they, in terms of us not conceding goals? The facts don't lie, do they?
Yeah, whether people think they haven't got enough pace or there's a mistake in the pair of them, at the end of the day, I think Michael Keane and Kurt Zuma were slightly better, but they played less games. They play less games than the two now. So the two now are much further ahead than what what other partnerships are. I think Holgate, did well last season, but when he played earlier this season and he was injured, he didn't really, when he came back in, show that he was still at the same level as last season. He has to get back to that. I think, I think fans often, go, well, it is, I suppose it's sexy to have Ben Godfrey, this new player who, puts these swashbuckling tackles and makes these great runs in. But when Ben Godfrey's got questions around him at centre-back that he still needs to sort out his position. Yeah. And I think playing left-back, like with Julian Lescott, will only help him at this at this level. I think that does help you develop. Leighton Baines a big example of someone that's a waste his time because he couldn't get in the side. So I think as long as you've got competition in every place, I think the manager will have options in certain games. He'll go, they've got far to the frontier and I'm going to big, so I'm going to send Mason Holgate and Ben Godfrey as the centre-back pair. That may happen. You're going to see that. And I think that's what we've got to do. We've got to understand that no one's guaranteed a starting spot. But at this moment in time, until Mina and Keane start making mistakes, they're going to stay as a centre-back partnership.
Definitely. I mean, Ped, I know you're not really that bothered, but just from it, no, the question.
General.
No, just from it, I've seen this mentioned by other people this week. He's got a great chance of getting back in that England team, hasn't he? I know we're not really that bothered by that, but for the personal thing, for him as a personal,
I always think
reward, it's good for him, isn't it?
Yeah, I always think it's a personal thing, isn't it? If it keeps a player happy, whether we like it or not. If it keeps a player happy, and that's what the players are striving for. I always think as well, if players feel like opportunities are not coming their way because they're at Everton, then you have to worry about that sometimes. Whether that's their big thing, I don't know. But no, he deserves that. When you watch people like Connor Cody, and I like Connor, I think Connor Cody's a good player. I really do. I think he's got that little bit of intensity that I've always wanted. Maybe Michael Keane to have. But when I watch him and I see him starting for England, I think you're not better than Michael Keane. Harry Maguire's a good defender. He's a good leader, and that's what he has over Michael Keane as well. But if you're looking at form, Michael Keane's in great form, absolutely great form, and I know it depends what they play. If they play three at the back, I think if they play three at the back, Michael Keane would be great in an England three at the back because he's so comfortable on the ball, and I think he's learned from his mistakes. And if he's, I think he's probably, when he's played for England rather than when he's played for Everton, he's tried to maybe do things that he shouldn't do. And if he's got them out of his system, if he's a little bit calmer, a little bit cooler, I think he'd be fine. So hopefully he is. Hopefully he does go to the Euros. I think he'd easily deserve it. When you see the other players out there who seem to get in ahead of him, but I think he's definitely in the manager's thinking. I think he'll go the Euros. Whether he starts, I don't know.
Yeah. I think the issue for a lot of it, for Everton players, unfortunately, I think when you play in Europe, it sort of shines brighter on you because you think you're playing at the highest level. So Maguire and others who play at Europe seems to get picked over. But let's be honest, the England centre-back options are of the highest calibre. And I think Michael Keane should be up there at least for the shout because based on his form. I don't think there's any world-class centre-backs currently for England, so he has to be in the mix at the very least.
I mean, and Ped, isn't it a good thing, from a personal thing for Everton, not necessarily England now, but just from Everton's perspective, that Michael Keane does really want to do well for Everton, and us as fans have bemoaned and still bemoan some players in our squad who we feel don't really care about us as a club, and yet this is a lad that I think, like Yerry Mina, I think Mina's the same, but Michael Keane really wants to do well for Everton Football Club. He wants to give his all, and I think he loves being at Everton, doesn't he? And that's something we should back, isn't it, really?
Yeah, it seems that way. He is like one of those old-fashioned players who's willing to spend, a certain amount of time at a club. He's not, let's be honest, he's an absolute dream of a professional footballer. He's not, you're not going to wear he isn't going to rob a taxi and put it through a KFC at 5 a.m, is he? Gareth Barry. Gareth Barry wasn't this kind of player at 27. This kind of person at 27. No, he's an absolute dream, isn't he, for the club and for the manager to be like that. And he's signed a new contract. I'd expect him to hang around probably for the better part of his career. He's a good ambassador. I think Everton fans will always value those kind of people as human beings. And you know, it always helps when someone gives you a daft nickname as well, and the club play into that and all that kind of thing, and you build up this sort of like daft thing around players. Do you know what I mean? He's got the play up, people on social media and stuff, and the club they play up to this like thing, this nickname and stuff, which clearly is like he's just like the dead quiet. He's the quietest man in the room, but if you build this persona, then sometimes that helps people as well. So
nice one, Chico.
Yeah, I've already got this persona. Fans are already playing into me. So if I just play up to that a little bit, then the job's done. Whereas sometimes if you're trying to find a play, we want all our players to have a little bit of personality in them. But if it's not there and someone invents it for them and everyone plays up to it, then it sort of works.
I just think he just seems like a dead nice fella. We seen him out in America when he went to Georgie's out and he cut his hair and all that, and he had a game of footy with his lad, just because he's an unassuming centre, you know, he's just a nice lad. And but Andy, just finally then, you know, with that being said, is he someone that can get better at Everton, or are we at his peak, do you think? Can he get better because of that experience, or does he need to develop those leadership qualities in terms of not necessarily his performances, because I think he's doing that now, that little bit of, you know, being confident enough to pull people into position and point and have a go at people? Or do you think he's just better getting on with what his job is himself?
I don't think he'll ever be that player, if I'm honest, but I think he can improve in the sense that I think if he keeps minimising those mistakes, then he'll stay in the Everton team. And I think you're right with experience. I don't think he had a bit of an on-off start to his career because he was in the Man United reserves for a long time, wasn't he? And then he got obviously a couple of low moves and ended up at Burnley. And I think as he ages, he will get better. And I think the more he plays, the more confidence he gets, the best he'll play. But you know, I think at a certain point he can improve, but I think if he can stay at this level now, Everton will be in a good position.
Yeah, definitely. Anything to add, Ped, before we finish?
Well, someone riding a horse called Ben Godfrey's just won a race, so everyone's happy on Twitter now. So until Michael Keane can do that, then come on, I'm going to always have me reservations about the play. You know what I mean? Although Harry Maguire actually has the horse riding him, so there is an advantage.
There you go. Let's leave it there then. Let us know what you think in the comment section below. Michael Keane, what are your thoughts on him? Has he changed? Are you one of those people who, a bit like Ped and Andy, had some reservations about Michael Keane? Has he changed then? Do you love Michael Keane, or do you still think Everton can do better? I think he's been brilliant, and if he carries on like this, then why would there be any question marks over Michael Keane? Make sure you give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't, and if you want more videos, including daily live videos, get over and join us on Patreon, like lots of you already have. Thanks for watching. See you later.